So, Darwin's hamster. Thanks for that response, for throwing your opinions in there. I think you really arbitrated between Luke and I, and came out with a way of describing the word that we're trying to define in a very acceptable way. I was happy with most of what you said, and I think the question um, that you posed about the possibility of an accidental art, or an art that wasn't um, created purposefully, or in other words, with skill or technique, in the sense that the end result was planned before the artist began to create. Um, and I think if we're gonna try to conceive of a kind of art that is accidental, unplanned, just spontaneous, it does bring up that issue of, is there a God? Because you would think, the traditional Judeo-Christian idea would be that, God's over here and the universe is His creation over here, and they're not, they're separate. So it's nature has a purpose then, because the Creator created it with intention. But if there is no God, and I'm atheist, I think. I mean, I don't believe in a monotheistic being that watches over our lives and can interfere in history or any of that. So, but there's a different way of thinking of God. It's not the Judeo-Christian way. That's the Hindu way, where God isn't separate from the universe itself. God is one with the universe. God is the universe dancing itself into creation. And as the universe, God, or it's Brahman, uh, as the Hindus call it, doesn't know what it's doing. So it's broken itself up into all these separate pieces. Just it's the universe. It's all these separate galaxies and stars and solar systems and planets and organisms and ideas, and they're all colliding and mutating and um, creating with each other. And this whole thing is God itself, God in action. So that would be spontaneous art. And I think it's really, I mean, spontaneous art is a lot more important in the East. I think in Japanese calligraphy, for sure. I mean, most of these artists are actually Zen masters, because they have to be so expertly trained in the art of attention, so that they can just without knowing what they're going to do, just walk up to a blank canvas with a black paintbrush and just make a whole Chinese character in one swift movement. Um, that's spontaneous art, I think. Um, and what about comedy? Is comedy art? Improv comedy? I mean, Luke just described improv as using a series of, um, individual tricks that you have in your bag, and you pick out a trick and you apply that trick, and you know, the more tricks you have, the better your improv is going to sound. Um, and that's a good way of describing it, I guess. But it sounds a lot like the kind of uh, cognitive representational theories of mind that I don't like. And that's basically it's the those are the scientists that study the mind by thinking of it as a computer, and that all of our ideas are these representations, and that there's a discrete number of representations that line up with, a discrete number of facts in the objective world. Um, and maybe Luke's not meaning to say this, but it just sounds that way It sounds similar to that to me because of sort of it seems to play down creativity or make it less dynamic than it might actually be. You know, because it might actually be more fluid than just and more truly spontaneous than just pulling some trick out of a bag that you've already been storing and hanging on to and waiting to use in the appropriate situation. Um, but yeah, Bill Maher is starting and Ron Paul is on tonight, so I'm gonna have to go watch that. But this is a great conversation, so let's keep it going.